Yo, 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 yo. What's going on, everybody? We're back. Friday, fun day, in the cool zone. So, hope everyone had a good week. Almost Thanksgiving week here. Afric 00. Africu, how's it going? Jabram, the boss. 6 months, tier 3. Let's go. Vegan Nuts, 5 months, tier 1. You guys are the OG cool heads in the chat. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being here since day one, pretty much. So yeah, you guys probably know what it is. We're gonna do another kind of funky, fun thing today. I appreciate you guys for sticking around since I was just figuring everything out on the more scuffed streaming setup and stuff like that. We've made a lot of improvements, made some upgrades and stuff like that, and it's nice you guys are sticking with me. What are your thoughts about V-Ray and Houdini? Redshift is better. Redshift is faster, I think. And it's the integration with Redshift is a lot better. The V-Ray plugin for Houdini is pretty messy. It just isn't that tightly integrated. Like the developers didn't spend as much time, or they just took a different path or something like that. So I prefer Redshift. It's just quick to set up and easy to use. No Genome, how's it going? Demon Case, cool zone. All right, so I'm getting some references up. You're working on Clouds. Clouds is it's a brutal. It can be a brutal thing to get pulled into working on. Just turns into like so much data. Like you're managing tons of voxels, and it can be heavy to turn around the scene. Yeah, so it's like really cool results you can get, but it's especially if you're making like a whole sky and then trying to simulate parts of it and add like effects, that kind of stuff. It can definitely turn into a pretty slow thing to be working on. So yeah, I was gonna kind of continue on a little bit of what I was doing last stream on Wednesday, the volume retiming stuff, with like some blobby, funky kind of volumetric forms, doing the SDF or the VDB SDF to do like a surfaced, hard surface style volume. So let's maybe just start with a sphere. I don't know. Could always switch it out later. We'll do the pyro solver, the simple one. This thing's pretty cool. Wow, 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 wow. But yeah, we'll just get started with this and see what happens. VDB from polygons, just to make a density or a fog. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm not expecting it to move around at all yet. We just did density, there's no temperature, so we're not gonna see any buoyancy. And are there any benefits of a Quadro over a GTX GPU? It depends on the Quadro. I think Redshift is, or I think NVIDIA is kind of depreciating the Quadro, or they're moving like fully to the RTX naming scheme or whatever. It's just different. They're just pretty much different brands. The main thing to look at is just the specs. Like the RTXs should be the fastest. My GPU is kind of the drivers. I don't think they matter too much. It's kind of a marketing scheme kind of thing that they're doing with that. I bought a Quadro so I could have a lot more VRAM, so I could do like OpenCL simulations. But basically the Quadro, like it's just a fewer releases back that they'll do for it that's like a bit more stable. And then the GTX ones are a bit more like bleeding edge kind of gaming stuff or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, the 3090, if you have the money for it, is probably the best one. And if you can actually find one for that isn't sold out somewhere. And then the 3080 is pretty good for its money as well. But if you were buying a new GPU right now, I'd definitely go with one of those. There isn't really any sense in going with a Quadro if you're just like, they do a branding scheme thing to try to make you think like it's really good for CAD or VFX or like 3D packages, but for the most part, that's just kind of like marketing fluff. So I'm trying to find the shape. Try to add some turbulence. Should start to get something. This temperature field for influence, you have to be careful if you don't have a temperature field. I think Threadripper is pretty good. I'm using an older computer here that has a really old Xeon workstation things or whatever, but the Threadrippers are probably a good way to go for newer builds. I think that there was on VFX Arabia, there's some benchmarks that you could find for the Threadripper and other CPUs and stuff like that. I don't know if this is the exact one I'm thinking of. So like this one is a Threadripper, I think. Maybe it's one of these. I don't know. There's somewhere on that VFX Arabia website you could find a pretty good benchmark of everything. Might just be a newer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it that quickly. But there's tests and stuff like that you can find people have done. But the Threadrippers should be pretty good for all this stuff. ECC RAM, I don't think it really matters. Like if you buy a server workstation, sometimes it's required to have ECC RAM. But for visual effects, it's not something you need. All right. So my turbulence isn't really working. Let's see what's going on. It looks like it's going, okay. So I think my dissipation and turbulence were like fighting against each other. So it was just disappearing right as soon as it was moving around. We'll just get this going a little bit bigger. And for sourcing here, they don't have like particles. You could do just source on initial frame or just create on initial frame. What I'm gonna do is just, they don't have that feature built in. So if you just do a switch, you only want to generate or import the gas or the density on the first frame. You can just do $FF if it's greater than 1. So this will evaluate to true or 1 after the first, might need to do, I think it will work like this. So if it's greater than 1, if it's not the first frame, it will be this first input. Otherwise, it will be 0. All right. Let's see what else we can do. Could switch this over to these things. Should get a lot faster. See the max sizes. Is there a way to visualize this stuff a little bit better? Like the, just the container size? I don't know. We'll just keep going. We'll see, I guess, the edges if it hits it. All right, so we could probably get a little bit more detail. I think if this isn't, sometimes you can do this volume bound. This will give you a good, we'll kind of like import the domain resolution or whatever. All right, so we're doing like a 200 by 200 by 200 volume. This looks like we're getting pretty close to real time. To visualize bounds, yeah, I don't know if they have it as a toggle on this Pyro solver, right? Because I think the intention is generally people are using sparse. But yeah, I'm not, there's a lot of tabs and stuff going on, so I'm not super sure. It might be hiding somewhere. But yeah, I can't find it. So you could just do a volume bound at the end. Yeah, I think with this one, they just don't have it in the presets or whatever. It's okay, I can just do the volume bound. I don't think this adds like too much overhead or whatever. We'll just do the, is this already giving me a VDB? Let's get the, there's this flat shaded view. I think this should be okay. All right. So we have just density that we're keeping, converting it to a VDB. And this should be a little bit faster. All right. The source volume here, I'm going to make it like a pretty high resolution, just because we're only sourcing it on one frame. We don't really need to worry about it being too heavy. We could try maybe some of this viscosity. Is it working? Yeah, it looks like it's working. Some of these you have to be careful if you're doing like the minimal OpenCL. Like it's a newer feature, so it might not be wired up properly. It might not be grayed out, but it just might not be doing anything. Let's take a look at the turbulence stuff. Might be too much like an ink. I'm gonna get away from. Alex, how's it going? We're doing some abstract, flowy kind of business today. Seeing what happens. So yeah, this is kind of like, I was doing some stuff on Wednesday. With volumes, I wanted to continue on with doing this as a SDF. Kind of a funky kind of form like that. And then you can do it one more time to polygons. So we're doing several. This is like dense to sparse. Fog to SDF. Probably an animation, or probably like starting with a still is just a target for the end of the stream today. But most of these recent ones I've been doing, I just haven't been finishing them, but they've had the ability to kind of animate them, like the statue. Voxelizer one. I think that one was a pretty recent one that I had in there. This one had animations and stuff like that, but it just didn't get finished. Just been running. I don't have enough GPUs to finish all these animations. All right, so we can do. So this one guy. WS computers. I don't think I have enough money for one of these, but he builds these crazy monster machines that have like eight RTX slots. It was like super high end. I don't know if this is the dream machine. Yeah, for sure. These are like 2080s maybe or something. But yeah, I can't imagine even some of these other like server form factor ones or whatever. Yeah, 8 RTX 2080s in a single workstation. It's like a brute force your way. You don't have to wait for Redshift RT to come out. You can just build a monster machine that will you get to real time that way. Yeah, it's like essentially just a supercomputer. All right, so this one is smoothing and doing SDF to poly. The excitement fades pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, with gaming, I think the excitement fades pretty quick, but for VFX, or if you're doing a lot of rendering, like having those GPUs can come in handy, especially for client work and stuff like that. It's definitely kind of diminishing returns. Like if you go from one GPU and you add a second GPU in your workstation, you've doubled your throughput or your render speeds essentially. But then if you add a third one, you've only added like 33%, and then a fourth one you just added like 25%, and then the excitement you get from each additional GPU does go down a little bit. All right. I don't know if this smoothing is. Sometimes on the ISO value here, if you have too low of a number, like you're essentially just saying everything is hard surface. Like this is, any density above this value will be treated like a hard surface. So if you have it too low, you can get like too chonky of a shape. I might take the initial density and just like boost it before the sourcing happens. And I don't really want to add too much of these other things because they can mess up like the hard surface look of things a little bit. The disturbance will kind of block stuff up quite a bit, and it looks it just doesn't look as smooth at the end. The Meerkat short, I didn't see it. It was just a single 3090. I think Unreal, the biggest hurdle is just the like asset prep stage of things to like get everything optimized. But there was some short films I've seen that were, I forget who made them, but there was some really cool stuff. You could probably make a better, get a better result than the original Toy Story, just on like a laptop these days. But yeah, there's some pretty good cracking, breaking effects and stuff in this one. Future of Houdini will be Unreal. I don't know if it will necessarily be fully like using Unreal with the full like editor and everything. I'm thinking it might be closer to something like Eevee with Blender, where it's just like a real-time viewport and stuff. Yeah, 24 gigabytes of VRAM should definitely be enough. I was going a little wild with mine when I got 48, just because they didn't have a reasonably priced like 24 gigabyte option at the time. But the way that everything is situated now, I think it makes the most sense to get the 3090. But I'm just adding more like viscosity and getting yeah, with the fluid, like if I look, I think this exception comes up for me regardless with the new solver or whatever. But if you look at the memory consumption here, I think you can do the watch command. So this will just keep running that every 5 seconds or whatever. We'll take the voxel size, maybe go down to like this. And now when I run the simulation, you can see it's like almost 8 gigabytes. And bringing it down even further, now it's up to like 13 gigabytes. So you definitely should be good with 24 gigabytes of VRAM. The other parts of Houdini use OpenCL, and you need, if you like fill up the memory, things will just become slower. And with Redshift as well, like if you start doing out of core rendering, things will get pretty slow as well. So if you have extra VRAM to spare, it's a good idea to build out your machine that way. Seagull Rush, how you doing? I might just turn off the viscosity for now. You can get some nice effects with it, but it does kind of like eliminate a lot of the detail that you would be getting. But this is starting to look pretty cool. Linux in general would use less VRAM and just less memory. Like it's a lot more efficient for doing managing like large data sets for rendering, simulation, and all that stuff. There's less overhead compared with Windows and OS X in general. Let me see how much I can push this. So yeah, it's still not using, shouldn't be using a ton of VRAM, but we're getting some good detail. And we could, might need a somewhat heavy card, but I'll do a share. Might need to turn off the minimal OpenCL stuff on your end. This is the 20th. All right. So this will be a new link. If you have the shelf tools, if you do !hip in the chat, ooh, Enye, !hip. You get some instructions for if you want to install more convenient methods of updating the scene file. And just go back to yeah, I've done some stuff with microsolvers in the past. You can get some good effects with them. I have done some streams going somewhat deep into them a while back. But yeah, these Friday ones, I just usually will try to work as quickly as possible. It's easy to kind of get lost in the simulation stuff. So what I was starting to do earlier this week was playing around with using the normal to make a noise or like a texture. You can do different things with it, but the main idea was that like you'll get you don't need texture coordinates baked into your sim, and it still will look kind of like a mix of using like a triplanar projection. It's like kind of like sticking a noise. Like visually it will look like it's traveling with the simulation a little bit better. I don't know about this. Absolute. Sometimes it's cool to have some dark areas that are completely black. And then I think some of this stuff, if it gets a little too high frequency, what I was doing was assigning normals to the points based off of face area, and then doing a smooth or like a blur. Usually people will do this to the point position, but you can do it to other attributes as well. So if we do that, you can see it kind of makes this a little bit more simplified of like a texture, or lower frequency kind of looking. It's kind of filtering out the high frequency changes in the normals. If you want to break up like a little bit of this, it does kind of look a bit uniform, like everything's from certain directions, everything looks pretty similar. It's kind of cool, but if you want to break it up a little bit, you try just like distorting some of this stuff very slightly, but just using a curl noise or something. Like super low frequency. This is going to be kind of for shading purposes, yeah. Like material blending or stuff like that. You could also you could try some stuff in Redshift. If we just make just copy this normal, maybe just keep it as UV. And then I'm just going to move it to vertices. You could see what happens with Redshift. Usually I'll just do this like bent grid just to get a quick environment, a backdrop or whatever. Looks like I just need to flip it around. Sometimes I'll do like a lower frequency one and then bend it. You would subdivide it after the bend if you want more of like a something closer to like a crease, just to control the like fall off or whatever of that. Let's see what happens. Solaris time. I don't have it set up yet. Need to upgrade my Redshift, I think. All right, so we'll do material on the shape. And maybe I need to assign it like this. I have a buggy. All right, so I think I got the grid there. Do the shape. We'll just make a copy. I don't know if my Redshift render, like the main view, if it's a super high resolution, it can, I think that's what can like bog down my display a little bit. All right. So just update the grid. We'll do this kind of like a rougher material to get rid of that weird speck. Something darker, and then this is the main shape. Let's get the, whoops. Just getting more of like a key light. Yeah, I've been using Houdini for asking how long have you been using Houdini? Did it take some time for everything like Vex to click? Yeah, I've been using Houdini for like 6 or 7 years now or something. I was already a little bit into programming like with Flash, like ActionScript, or like processing some super kind of somewhat outdated programming languages, but that definitely helped things like Vex to click. Just knowing some programming, like the syntax and like the logic of programming and stuff like that going into it, it helps it click a little bit better. Houdini itself is laid out a lot more like a kind of an operating system, or more of a technical kind of mindset than other, like ZBrush or Cinema 4D are kind of more like laid out like Photoshop or Illustrator. So I think Houdini clicked a little bit easier for me in that sense, because it was just more like using an operating system or folders, like these geometries. You could view them as directories or folders on your computer. So that kind of nature of things, I think, helped it click a little bit for me. Might be a little bit too many. I've been trying to get better at using the Redshift IPR stuff. So like I did realize if you, does it work? It's not gonna work now. Oh, here it is. This icon here, the 9 blocks or whatever, that lets you do like the interactive bucket render. So you can, I think, do a better job at like dialing in some of these noise settings. Like doing this shadow stuff. If you go over to sampling overrides, do some more light samples, you kind of, I don't know if it's the Twitch compression or the stream compression might be kind of blasting it out. But go back to the default, like 7 or 8. You see that this is a little bit chunkier. But we go up with this, can clean up some of the shadow noise from the area light. But it's a better way of working. Before I wasn't as knowledgeable about the Redshift settings, and I was just jacking these up. So I was coming from like a mantra, big mantra skill set. And I never, like the way, these are just laid out differently, but basically the pixel samples are these min and max unified sampling. These are like global anti-alias samples, like I think V-Ray calls them camera samples. The automatic sampling, I tried it a little bit. Some people cautioned it to me, but yeah, I had used it in the past. But I'm trying to get better at using this kind of stuff and then optimizing things this way. And the other big thing that I was missing was just with the global illumination, the brute force rays, however many GI rays, like the default is pretty low. So like it's just 16. So my GI was always really noisy, and I would forget to move this setting higher, and I would just crank the max samples here to try to get rid of it. And it will work, but you're just oversampling too much. Like you don't need to be doing that with anti-alias global samples. If you try to completely clean the GI noise, it starts to get quite slow. So if we just go back to like 16, and then if you increase your brute force GI rays, that will be a little bit better or more optimized way to clean that kind of stuff up. So yeah, I've been having some people in the Google or the YouTube comments giving me some the tips and the tricks. All right. So this shader is going to be, did it get assigned? We should see a color. Let me go onto my IPR and just do live updates. It should be working. Let's have an investigation here. Something's broken. Yeah, I don't know what I've done. This is material one. Let me just try getting a new render view. This is the classic gotcha. So this is the stuff I ran into before a while back, but basically this pyro solver here, yeah, it adds the shop material path when it assigns the this look. I think you could uncheck this box. That will work. But you can also clean up extra attributes you don't need. Sometimes it's a good idea just to get rid of stuff. Like color, it might just be taking up space on the mesh right now. You just delete things you don't need. Can help. All right, we fixed it. Sorry about that. It's always a gotcha with Redshift. All right, so I was doing something just like a custom. My animation, thank you. Yeah, the cool zone stuff is pretty pretty fun to work on. It's always cool, I don't know, to get away from the technical aspects of Houdini sometimes and just go at it for artistic Bob Ross style. I don't know why I can't get, maybe just go to like plastic. Yeah, so this is closer to the starting material. Definitely optimizing. But after speeding sometimes in Houdini, not as optimized as you think. Yeah, that's one of the things I'll try to focus on a lot with my workflow is like not to just use unnecessary nodes for no reason. I don't know. Especially if you're like sharing setups with other artists in production or even just like streaming or teaching things. It just kind of throws people off if you're doing stuff that doesn't, you just arbitrarily like changing things and not really explaining it. I think also just with starting to go into the teaching mindset, I started to realize like that helped me optimize a lot of my workflow, was that I was just doing things that I didn't need to be doing. All right. So this is the same idea with the noise I was doing in VOPs, but now I'm doing it in the Redshift shader. So just can give you a little bit better of a definition or better detail. Booyah. I don't know if I want to do a couple of these. You can use these for all kinds of things. I was thinking maybe doing one for displacement or something. And maybe one of these for, let's go back into a multiplier. So we'll do the multiplier to get the values like super big, and then the sign to kind of generate like a secondary noise, if that makes sense. You can kind of like stretch some stuff out and get some funky psychedelic kind of stuff. So the base noise result is like between 0 and 1, and if you try to run that through a sine wave, you'll never get a loop, like you'll never get a repetition. So the more that you boost the values, like this is basically saying the sine function will repeat like 15 times, or maybe 5 times, depending on your cycles or whatever. So then if you do 115, you'll get like just a higher frequency kind of repetition. I could go into the higher resolution. So this is the benefits of doing this stuff at render time or in the shader. You don't have to worry about not having enough vertices or whatever, and you kind of get like limitless detail. So yeah, if you guys want to check out the shader network and stuff, we could do another, just get updated to the latest. I think this stuff is just it's too messy, too high of a frequency. Let's just go back down. Maybe just the standard noise. I don't know if there's a smooth, maybe like a bias. I think this is somewhat closer to like the smooth function I was doing in VOPs. All right. Let's just put this into the color. I can get my floor back in there now that I figured out my texture problems. Alex, yeah, thanks for stopping by. It's like 2 a.m. where you are. I keep thinking about, I don't know, maybe next year I'll redo my schedule or switch the time slot around a little bit. We're already talking about next year. So what is it? 40, 35 days away or something? All right, so this is looking pretty nice. It's like a kind of hand painted. It's like a poison frog or something like that, maybe. So yeah, this is one idea. Let's maybe just turn that off for right now and try the other one. This stuff is still too high of a frequency. All right. So I wanted to see what happens with displacement. I don't know if it's going to be too heavy. Like if the mesh is just too high of a resolution, it can be pretty slow to displace stuff. I think if we have a pretty high resolution mesh to begin with, you can get away with like a lot less subdivisions. Let's see what happens. I think it's working. I think I just turned it way too low. So yeah, this is working a little bit better. I think it might just be like this noise texture is a lot darker than I'm used to. Usually I wouldn't do values that are this big, but I think the generated brightness or whatever is just super dim for this noise. Pretty gnarly. Let's I think just overall my scene's a little dark. Creepy and disgusting. Yeah, it's kind of like some guts. It's like a blend between like a tree bark or something, and then I don't know, like something slimy. All right, let's just move this. I don't know, maybe something with bigger, super diffuse shadows. Just kind of thinking about like the scale of stuff. If you were an actual photographer, how big your area light would be for this kind of thing. All right, let's put another light. Where did they go? Get the Redshift light. So I'm just doing control click from the, I think it's working. Control click on the shelf to get the light positioned, like where your view is looking at. So instead of making a light at the origin, this is a quicker way to position your lights. Like if you just click on the button by itself, it will just put a light in the middle of your scene. So maybe with this one, just do like a bit more rim. don't know if it's a little too much. Maybe just like some highlights. Just some details, like I think this main light is pretty nice. Maybe even something like this is better to just not as bright for the background, just to make this stand out a little bit more. Sci-fi noir is kind of like what is the, I don't know, the guy that did the, was it H.R. Geiger? Was that his name? The guy that did the concept art for Alien, like really organic, gross, gross looking stuff. All right, let's see what happens with the color. I had the like poison dart frog kind of color situation going on. Sometimes it's a good idea to do I don't know the Redshift function for it. I'm just trying to clamp, maybe just change range. Macro flex. I think this one will, clamp to new range. So if you just want to make sure you don't have any negative numbers, that one can be a good one to use. I might just dial the displacement stuff back a little bit. So maybe even a lower frequency overall. And then if you don't want it going like completely black, could still have a little bit of I don't know, could have been better. Pretty dark. You look up reference images? Yeah, I don't really consider these tutorials. They're more of just like messing around, but I've been trying to more recently get these just a Google search or like pulling some stuff together in the general like vein of the direction I'm heading in. Just because I think with people like following along with the stream, it's a little bit easier to follow along, like especially Houdini if you're typing out Vex code or doing something super technical. This will just gives people a good idea of like your visual direction you're heading in, or the one of your targets, or what you're trying to do. For people just like bouncing in at the start or whatever, or like halfway through. Let's just do more of this. Let's see what it looks like. I don't know if I'm kind of like clashing some different patterns, and it's not looking too good right now. But let's just see what happens. I think we can also get a little bit closer with the camera. Yeah, it's looking interesting. It's a good start. PureRef. Yeah, I have it installed. Um, I haven't I haven't been using it too much um, for these like quicker streams or whatever. Just because I like to be able to browse around and just click around and kind of explore or whatever. But for bigger projects and making like boards and stuff like that, I've used it and it's pretty good. It has a hard time. I never had issues with it with my OBS, but one of the other things I had was problems was just like you had to save the references or the files locally, so it's just more stuff or whatever you had to manage. That was just another like kind of thing that slows you down. So for these quick ones or whatever, it was just something that was taking up too much time. Yeah, I don't know about the this like broad color stuff. No, if we just do less, looks a little bit like less clashing or whatever. Maybe the displacement. Let's just unhook it for a second. So I'm thinking if I can get this stuff smoothed out a little bit, it might be better. Just worried, like if I go to animate this, if you have too much high frequency detail on your in your displacements or just in general from your noises, it can flicker after the simulation or whatever. Might have killed too much of the detail. We could try adding, I don't know, like a little bit of subsurface. We really want to kill the, just destroy the render times. Andre, how's it going? I think my lighting now is a little bit not as good as it was before. I think like the stuff I did with the shaders kind of threw it off a little bit. Let's try to get the stuff just punched in a little bit. Yeah, yeah, it's a Pyro sim, and then I did the VDB from um, fog to SDF to get it to like a surface, and then SDF to polygons or convert VDB to polygons to get it to render. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of establishing like a focal point. Let's try getting up to something with the other light. All right, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Yeah, so I'm using the normals right now to generate the noise. So I just made point normals and blurred them or smoothed them. The mustache. I'm getting a pretty big beard myself. Just been too lazy to shave. All right, let's just take a break from rendering. Just gonna go up a version. If you guys want to get caught up, you can check out the file. And just want to go in and actually like properly cache out the simulation. It's probably a good point to do it right here. We'll just do the half float for like storage optimization. And then this will be our cache point. All right. So yeah, I think overall my shape of stuff was pretty good. I don't know if it's not enough detail. Like if we could add some viscosity if we wanted to blur out this, or if you want a little bit more detail in stuff, you just take the turbulence and add like Mr. Wazoo, how's it going? Did you start your weekend already? You jumped the gun? We have begun. All right. So making this kind of poison dart a volume thing or whatever. Yeah, if we just do a little bit more turbulence and stuff. Just getting ready to bake the simulation now, and then I'll move on with rendering. I don't know if we want to close. I guess we could just close the bottom of the container. If we want it to interact with the floor. Oof. All right. Looks like it could be a certified Kevin Mack sculpture. It's a little bit in that territory. He was calling his stuff pretty wild names. He had like the Shiva 5000. This stuff is pretty nice. Not the desperate panting Shiva. Let me see if I can find some of these. You guys have seen any of these? Anyone else in the chat? Some of the names for these are pretty wild. I don't know if they're just file names. Here it is. Rogers irrational ratios. The holy vessel. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if that's kind of disturbing. Yeah, I think he was doing them in ZBrush or something, or like 3D coat maybe. Let's do a bit wider, just so we have some extra space. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of getting away from this stuff I was looking at earlier. Testing Redshift benchmark. I haven't run the benchmark scene. If that's what you're asking, like the default scene with the plague doctors. The fountain? Or what do they call it? This is kind of... I always wondered who made this. It's pretty... It reminds me of like the Eyes Wide Shut, the Stanley Kubrick movie. I can't find a nice like high resolution image of it. But yeah, I think there's like the little guys in the back, right? These little plague doctors. They're with their glowing eyes. Yeah, the scene comes in the thing. Yeah, it's a very Riven Mist kind of vibes as well. Let me get back to the full frame. You can import it. I don't know if you can import all of it, but if you do like RS proxy, I forget which. I tried to bring it in before. I think you can bring in. It didn't load like all the references properly, but you can import portions of it into like a 3D. But yeah, I haven't run it on the Quadro. All right, so I was adding a little bit more detail trying to get a little bit more detail out of this with the turbulence, adding another level, but then reducing the grain a little bit to kind of like compensate. And then I just extended the bounds, and I think we can do just kick it out. This kind of stuff was pretty nice. It was like how many time? Yeah, it's not super fast for rendering. I think like the clock speed of the Quadro that I have is probably not as good as like the 3090. I think the new RTX cards might beat it, but just because it has so much VRAM was the main reason to buy it. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. For two 2080s? Yeah, I think mine, I'd probably be at, if I had to guess, might be close to like 10 minutes. Maybe 8 minutes or something. The card that I have is slightly outdated, I would say. Like it's been around for a while. All right. So we have just turn this off. Make sure it doesn't keep cooking. All right. So we have our exploding foggy business. I don't know about the top. I think it's just going to get like cropped off a little bit. Might play around with this ISO value to try to get chunkier. Chunky boy. And then we can always just do some rotation. Four 1080s, 3 minutes, three and a third, 3.5. All right, I might stick with this POV for right now. Just think it's going to be a little bit better of a composition maybe. That was your 3090? Or someone else posted it? All right, so I'm just making the floor a little bit darker. 3 3090s, that's certainly a pog. With 3 3090s, it should be quicker than 56 seconds, right? I don't think this is, it's not, I'm not using the similar stuff as this. think Lee Griggs did it here, and he was doing like an image projection, like a camera map projection of some mixing ink and stuff. I'm just doing noise with, it might be more similar to this, but I'm not doing volumetric noise. I'm just doing like hard surface displacement stuff. I was actually going to go in as well to increase the detail of it. I'm just going to get rid of the black lines for a second and see what happens. But yeah, and then instead of actual UV coordinates, because it's like a smoke sim, so you can't really texture it, what I was trying to do was use the normal, I blurred the surface normals, and then I transferred that over into the UV coordinates to run basically the noises generated from the normals. Old school Jack, how's it going? I'm hanging in there. I'm gonna make it through the weekend. I'm barely making it. Yeah, it's an interesting. It's a super interesting effect for like abstract stuff, I think. Yeah, and then I'm interested to see how it will look like in motion, like how well this stuff will follow the simulation, like the how like just to make sure it doesn't flicker. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing the best job explaining it. Just like if it looks like a swimming texture or artifacts or stuff like that. Let me dial in some lightings, and then I'll open up the your link, Andre. I think we get some better. Maybe these lights, I just made them too big. I think that's kind of getting some of the detail out of this stuff. Which renders are insane? All of them? I don't know about that. I think there's definitely some more talented folks out there. Kind of messing up a little bit with this one. All right. I'm just gonna I don't know. I think I messed up a little bit too much. Slow motion, it should hold up. Yeah, that's one of the things I was doing earlier in the week on Wednesday. I'm just gonna set up a test render to check it out in motion, and then I'll get to your link, Andre. I'm sorry. So basically what I was doing was if you do like a time blend, you can interpolate the distance field or the SDFs, and it will hold up pretty well. Like you don't even need velocity or stuff like that if you just do voxel position. then it will interpolate the actual like distance values inside of the volume, and it will should blend together pretty nicely. So let's just maybe go 0.35. And I'm just gonna do like an offset here. So we'll start at frame 45. I've already slowed it down or whatever a little bit. Yeah, and I don't know, I think let's just see what happens. Ooh. My desktop is like super buggy when I run Redshift at the same time. I think I mashed copy and paste at the same time as well. The human centipede of links. Ooh. I love the black and white. I've been in a black and white mode with my renders recently. This stuff is pretty cool. I really like the slicing stuff you did at the end. Boom, 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 boom. This is like a kind of styrofoam. How did you do this little pattern there? Man, the Vimeo player is not fun to seek around with. I like this little punch at the end. This is like your logo, Kaleido. Yeah, I've been working on some kaleidoscope stuff like that as well. Let me see. Kaleidia. Yeah, I need to do, just like playing around with the color correction or whatever of it. But yeah, I really like the timing and stuff you had with yours, the morphing capability. Yeah, I don't know. I was just testing out some stuff. I've been playing around with different like fractal extrusion, like subdivision and extrusion processes or whatever, and then doing like mirrored surfaces and stuff with them to get interesting kaleidoscope effects. Random render, how's it going? Houdini's got his shades on. He's in the cool zone. But yeah, that was just something I was messing around with. Let's see how well this is. It's looking pretty good. I don't know what happened here. Wow. Yeah, I don't know if maybe I need to do another smoothing. There's some good Bryce. What is Kaleidia? Is this a term I'm not familiar with, or you're just abbreviating kaleidoscope. I didn't know if it was a special render, if there was like a renderer that someone made that was just for doing kaleidoscopes and that was the name of it or something. Like Bryce was just for terrain, and then maybe some absolute madman had made a renderer that was just yeah, I've seen a lot of people make really cool kaleidoscopes in After Effects. I think you get really good feedback. Like it's all kind of closer to real time. With Houdini, it's just so slow to do those renders or whatever. Displacement, yeah, I don't know if it's, I did set my like displacement stuff pretty low. I think it might be like my mesh that I'm displacing from has some high frequency kind of wrinkles in the form before it gets displaced. And that stuff might be shooting the things out in different directions, if that makes sense. And it's possible I just made the settings too low for the displacement like subdivisions. Let's try to do a fix. So this shape right here, yeah, it's looking promising. So I'm thinking like some of these high frequency wrinkles I'm saying is like if the mesh is folding over and there's like a weird jaunty crease, the Redshift shader displacement is going to push it along the normal. So if your things here are like jacked up, you're going to get an error. You're going to get a spike. You just keep doing these blurs, but do one that's just for the point position. You can see us kind of getting rid of those little and big wrinkles. I don't know if we're going to completely get rid of them. And then, yeah, this. I don't know if those. Like my base mesh is already pretty. Pretty high resolution, so I don't think we need to do that many more subdivisions at render time. We can investigate it with the wireframe. If you're ever like really curious with the tessellation density, so it looks like my render time subdivision or whatever, it's already like smaller than a pixel. If this stuff goes completely black, then that just means your wires are like filling up the pixels. Yeah, I don't know if it's it's kind of like a debugging node with Redshift, I think, or something. I think like it's the similar idea with Mantra or whatever. They have the renderer. You can do like, I think there's some ways to debug with Mantra to visualize the dicing. But yeah, this is a good way of like visualizing the tessellation or the dicing or whatever you want to call it with Redshift. the Ren. Ren is a pretty old, yeah, with Houdini. It's cool. You can use it to get like PDFs, like you're rendering to vectors. So you could print it out or like blow it up into really big image formats or whatever. But I think people nowadays are just exporting stuff as SVG. It's like the similar idea as you're just generating a vector based thing. Damn panders, how's it going? Wah wah wee wah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to make some adjustments here to get things, clean up some of the artifacts. I did a quick animation earlier in there. It was looking, the noise was moving around in a pretty cool way, but there was still like some weird popping artifacts. So I'm trying to, I did some stuff, some smoothing and increase the detail. If I keep seeing some of the artifacts, I might try to reduce the roughness or the octaves of the noise. Sometimes if your noise is like too rough, it will introduce little just like it's like extrapolated out into a super high value or something like that. You have any special procedure when meshing transparent liquids? Some weird refraction problems? There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. Like if your water's inside of a glass, or if it's just by itself, the normals are like the first thing you want to check, because the renderer, when it's going through like transparent surfaces, it will always look at the normal to decide the IOR, whether it's like going into a higher index of refraction or then going back into air that's like 1. All of that stuff is based off of the normal. So like if your normals are reversed or whatever, that might cause the problem. Yeah, the normals are the first thing I would check if it's some stuff like that. Yeah, if you're doing the water inside of a glass, you look at the nested dialectics. Let's see how this one is. It looks like, I think what's happening here is it's just really rough areas of the noise that's making a spike, that's making a shadow. That's my current hypothesis. I don't know if it's right or not. But that's my guess right now. Like if you get rid of some of the octaves of the noise, or the gain, or whatever they call it with Redshift, grain or gain or something like that, you should be able to filter out some of those bigger spikes. The triplanar, you could do it with triplanar. I don't know if you can generate like a noise as easily with it. Basically, generating the noise based off of the normal should be pretty similar to triplanar. But both of those techniques are just based off of like the direction of the normal. But I think this should give me better, like, you won't see stuff shearing against the edges or whatever. Like, whenever I try to triplanar projection of a simulation like this, you get this kind of stuff, like the stretching and mirroring or whatever, but it just looks more like a hard, I don't know. I know that there's like blending you can do with it. Yeah, I'm gonna mess around with this a little bit more. Maybe just try one subdivision. Just to speed things up a little bit. I'm gonna do a little less smoothing of everything. All right. So if you guys want to get up to date, you get the latest. But the things I was changing there was less render time subdivisions for the displacement. That was mainly just to speed up these tests. But it should also help because if anything, it would filter out some of the high frequency. And then I reduced like the roughness and the octaves on the noise. I made the specular rougher. So that should just reduce like flickering or from frame to frame, things will look a little bit cleaner or smoother or whatever. I think that, and then I did reduce the blurring that I was doing on the mesh to the normal and to the point position. So that should, I don't know, I was thinking that it might preserve a little bit more like detail in the noise. So when we generate the noise from those coordinates, they'll have a little bit more like precision and stuff. The displacement build time in Redshift, it's pretty good. A big part of it is just knowing, like working with that wireframe node to optimize it. Before I knew too much about it, I would just leave it. The settings would be too high usually for like starting with a pretty high resolution mesh. You don't need to really subdivide it too much at render time. But in the past, I've made mistakes where I was just like overly dividing the mesh. And then I think some people have had problems with if you're trying to displace stuff but still get really sharp corners. Like it seems, I've seen better results with Octane from that. With Redshift, it always seems to be a little bit like you can never really get perfectly sharp displaced edges. I don't know, I've played with the filtering of like the texture map, like turning off filtering and stuff, but it's just, I don't know if there's some secret stuff that Octane does. Ocean spectrum cusp. Yeah, I have been meaning to do some oceans with Redshift. Can do the ocean with what is it? You keep seeing this blurring might be related to that. I think So yeah, what I was saying earlier about the displacement here, like the default subdivisions on this is 6. So if you don't change that and you render like a really high resolution mesh, it will take minutes to build your scene or whatever. So that's one of the biggest things it took me a while to realize. But yeah, with the ocean, you guys ever have the spectrum? Has anyone ever been able to get this at 14? Resolution exponent up to 14? Anytime I tried it, it crashes my computer. I don't know if you need like maybe 256 or 512 gigabytes of RAM. All right, I'm gonna go. Geometric landscapes. There's some files for those. If you look at the some of the older VODs, when I first started streaming, I went through some of those scenes. All right, so I have the settings. We'll just go full res, but we'll do it like a little bit noisier of a render. Just turn down the light samples. Yeah, I think my YouTube channel got a little clogged up. They would be pretty deep down in the depths of that. If you go to the Vimeo, the recording for it is pretty scuffed. Like I think the audio is muted for some portions of it because of the music rights or stuff. But yeah, there's some scene files in a link for it. It's just like a zip archive or whatever. If you unpack it or extract it or whatever, there is I think it's like the black and orange landscape, like that actual file or whatever is in this scene right here. I think is in that archive. Yeah, and then that one's still just a Redshift instancing. What did they do here? It's pretty cool. All right. So I did do some more smoothing on the normals, and it looks like that's cleaned up most of the... This stuff might be things poking through the other side, you know? Like it's like it's a penetrating meshes maybe. Let's just go lower resolution. So I think my displacement distance, the scale, it might be too big and it's penetrating itself. Like spikes from right here can be displacing through the surface or whatever. Let's try that. I did want to try the noise at a lower scale as well. lower frequency, like a higher, just a bigger features. I don't know, we could try going the other. Just seems a little too distracting. Trying to like stretch it out more. Robotvinik, how's it going, buddy? The doctor is here. The doctor is in the chat. All right, let's see if we can get the psychedelic stuff looking better. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like let's just try a later frame. So it just seems like it's kind of clashing too much with the displacement. Let's see how it looks here at a later frame. It's a little psychedelic. This is what you're gonna serve grandma at Thanksgiving dinner. This is like the turkey giblets or the giblets or something. You guys ever play around with that stuff? Yeah, it's turning maybe a little bit too much into like a smoke. Like I don't. This kind of reminds me of the fireworks, like the black worms that just turn into soot or something like that. Just like ash, condensed ash. Alkama, thank you for making it. I think this kind of stuff was just getting a little distracting. The Rembrandt? Rembrandt is always, he's always one of my lighting guides or whatever, to get like just the way that he was like bathing stuff in darkness and like just so nice. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just see what some of these other. Headband. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. There's some stuff about it. Like it's working pretty well, but it could be a monster. The Dark Souls, the demon. Yeah, I don't know about the overall form right now. Like it might just be too bubbly. Maybe I need to go back and add some viscosity to the fluid simulation. But let's just try a quick render and see. I want to see how well the textures and stuff hold up. Biosis Studio. I don't know if I've seen. I might have. The name doesn't necessarily ring a bell. It might have been something I've seen though, just by exploring. I don't know what Biswa? Is that how you say it? The second one? Was it the one I clicked? This one? Maybe it's in the show reel. Ooh. I think I have seen these. They were doing like some wax. There was someone that did some really nice like soap mixing stuff. But yeah, this one here is amazing. It's like fuzzy, a carpet. Someone's laying down the carpet. Ooh, I think I've copied too many links again. All right. Ooh. Yeah, I think this is the Andy Loomis. It's like a morphogenesis paper or something like that. I can't spell. This stuff, I'm pretty sure that's where it's coming from. It's pretty interesting stuff. I don't think my brain is big enough to contain all the information. but I think it's kind of based off of this. This is the stuff, yeah. But yeah, it's I've like read abstracts of it or overviews or whatever. It's pretty interesting the way that like the constraints and stuff like that are all just the way you introduce complexity and everything into it. Rich Lord has some monsters in it. If someone finds his hard drive and just goes through it, they would be pretty horrified by some of the experiments he's been up to, I bet. It looks like I fixed. It looks like I've fixed a lot of the super obnoxious popping. This is a spooky boy. We're full, what is this, kind of like Cronenberg? A bit of, yeah, I took me a few tries of changing settings. There's still a little bit of flickering. I don't know if it's actually in the pyro mesh itself. But it's definitely a lot better than it was earlier. Oh, let's just leave this here for a second. So yeah, if you guys want to get caught up, this is the scene that I'm working with. And then I was just going to go in and do another pyro tweak. So this is the cache I have right now. I think David Cronenberg, yeah, the director, right? Isn't it, what is, I don't know if this is gonna get to TOS, but yeah, just some of the props and stuff like that get a little, yeah. Existenz. Who had Existenz? Where was Existenz? He had Cronenberg on? All right, so I'm gonna try. Let me take a look here. Ooh, this is a nice one they have on right now. Yeah, this looks like a good one to check out. How do they do that with the rights? I think you just can't get big enough. If you do, you get yeeted. Yeah, if you don't do VODs, I think you can kind of do anything you want as long as no one reports you or something like that. It's like being in incognito mode. The streamer has now entered incognito mode. All right, so I wanted to do the sneaky. Yeah, it's a stealth mode, flying under the radar. Just gonna maybe do more density. just trying to make sure it doesn't like fade away too much. And the viscosity, so I'm trying to do that to keep it from getting too bubbly. If you add a little bit of viscosity, you can hopefully get rid of like the little pressure fronts or whatever that show up. Let's do so I did a few different changes there, but overall I was just trying to get less features, just like a broader, smoother shape overall. You could also just play around with the seed to get like different starting patterns, like a different section of the noise. Oof. Let me try doing. I think my viscosity is too big. All right, let's see what happens here. I feel like at the start you just want 2 or 3 kind of like main forms or like bulbs or whatever. You never really want to get, oops, I disabled the wrong node. You never really want to get like too much little bubbles for what I'm trying to do. This could be better, but I don't know. I think that might just be the settings I'm doing here. Like reducing the ISO value, you can kind of filter out the strings or whatever, and doing like more blurring. I should also turn these off for right now. Let me take a look. Just like super low roughness. A little bit smoother. I'm usually a fan of doing some of these other advection. Those seem to give me a little bit like sharper results, like do just a better job at like preserving hard edges or whatever. It's like less blurring happenings overall. Yeah, this could be a good one. boxer. How did I get all these tabs open? The hell is going on? This thing's pretty nice. Ooh. It's like a similar idea, but I think it's... These are like actual cuts. It's like a terraced terrain or something like that. It's pretty cool. Shades of Orange, thank you for the 6 months. Let's go. We had a ton of OGs hitting their anniversary today. Half a year. All right, so let's gotta be OG pleb. Need to get them to do retroactive. I think they added a feature recently where you can like subscribe 3 months in advance or something, but they should have a retroactive one where you could like go into the past and add your subscriber status. All right. So I think this is going to be a little bit better with this kind of... Basically, I did a bunch of settings on the smoke solver to get less features, or to try to get less features. Like overall, it should just be a less complex shape. Like this one, it just seemed like these little ripples and bubbles and stuff were making it too confusing to look at, too complex. Time Flux subscriptions. It's like a fourth dimension. So a traveler of the fourth dimension. Ooh. Ooh. All right, I did some stuff wrong. I think I didn't export. I had my flag on the wrong node, so it wasn't getting the proper textures and stuff into the shader. But yeah, it's looking less busy, which is nice. I'm just gonna go to earlier frame where it's not as hasn't exploded as much. This is a good one. It is starting to hit the wall right here. Should be okay for now. Ooh. starting to be a little bit better to look at, I think. Yeah, I don't know, maybe something like that. It's looking a little bit better. Just kind of accentuating the top of it. Might just try one more thing with the rotation. Just try to get a better composition or whatever. Il Masta Ku. Happy Mandelbro Day. This is it's kind of in the zone of a Mandelbro. Or is more of a fluid sim and not a traditional fractal. I didn't realize it was Mandelbro Day. This is certainly a day for celebration. Yeah, I think this composition, the rotation helped a little bit. Let's try to do let me just see what this light is doing. It is indeed his birthday. You were doing 3D Mandelbrot's? You were doing the classic like bulb. I don't know the name of it. It's like the one that the classic one. Classico. All right, let's just get rid of that. Ooh, a published brother. That's pretty. It's pretty lucky of you to have that resource at your disposal. Someone to decode the Greek symbols. He did the math and you did the 3D. That's a good team. There were a couple brothers. Think they've published some papers and stuff like that. It's like last name is Yuxel, like that. If you look up maybe light grid, you look at their these are a different kind of brothers. They do some 3D research and stuff like that. One of them is a more university researcher, and then the other one actually works at some 3D studios and stuff like that. So I worked with this guy's brother when I was at ILM. I don't know where, maybe just research. Tons of different stuff that's too complicated for me. All right. So I think we're getting close. I might just add a grid. I'm just gonna do like a classic light bounce card to keep this area from getting like too dark. I feel like it kind of sucks your eye into that part of the render if it's like the darkest or just this like corner that's kind of sunken. We'll make this just invisible to primary rays. I'm gonna turn off, should just turn off displacements so it's like quicker to build the scene. All right. Then I'll take the same shader that the ground has. Number 2. And does this work? I wish you could use the viewport to position the grids like you could with lights and stuff. Or we can just move it around. take the let's just go through the camera and I don't know, something, just to try to fill this area out a little bit. I don't know if my my ground shader is just too dark. It's a little bit better. Can always just move the looks like a little bit more balanced this way. All right. I'm gonna just go in and try to set up one more render. Just kind of round things out with that. I'm gonna add the animation. So let's just start on the first frame. You turn the speed off maybe. So just use this node to do the retiming. I think it's probably I went too far forward. A left, not much. Got another 6-monther. Let's go. This was our own Veterans Day. Yeah, thanks everyone for sticking around with me for so long. All right, this frame is looking pretty good. I'll just go into manual mode to do some animation stuff. So I want to kind of punch into this form right here and hold the frames, do like a bullet time effect, and then we'll kick back into like high speed, something close to high speed. Follow wage. What is it? What is follow age? Oh, follow age. I don't know if I have that. It's like a Nightbot thing that I need to set up. I need to add it, I think. All right. So just doing a custom ramp to make it a little bit more exciting. And before I do the final or the sequence, the shot render, I'm just going to add some of the Redshift post effects. take a look. So I think we can do photographic, like the tone mapping. Just maximum, smash that contrast. I don't know about the noise. I'm kind of rethinking it right now. I feel like the vignetting is kind of broken. It never shows up for me in this render view, but then it will show up like actually in the mplay or when I render it to disk. Just kind of have to guess. Just leave it like that for a second. I might do one more stab with the displacement noise. Just try stretching it even more. I don't know, it might be going the wrong way. Big XL 333. Thank you. Thanks for following. Thanks for the compliment. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit with these different textures and stuff. Got the powerful set of emotes there. I think maybe just less less amplitude, but I'm gonna go like higher on the grain or the gain. Try to pull out some more subtle streaks and lines and stuff like that. All right. Let's try it like this. We'll go up to version 3. If you guys want to get caught up, there's the file. Have a blessed day as well, Big XL. Have a triple XL day. The displacement, yeah, it's in the shader. So to get the little, like really fine grain detail and stuff like that, you kind of will have to do it in the shader. I was starting to set things up in the SOP level. This is 1 million points. Like, you really don't want to be sending, you could maybe do like 2 million or 4 million points to Redshift in terms of like level of detail, like the density of your mesh. So I was starting to play around with these textures in SOPs, but even here you can see like there's some aliasing. So if you're rendering stuff like HD or that kind of, this one might actually be better like that. Let me just go with a more like anamorphic vibe. But yeah, if you're rendering stuff out like high res, you just will want to be doing more of your noises in the extremely detailed geometry and then exported it to V-Ray to render on the CPU. Yeah, it depends on the renderer you're using and stuff like that. So you'd start the thing while I talk about it. Yeah, Arnold is quite nice for displacements. I've been meaning to try Arnold again. It's been like 4 or 5 years since I was using it in Houdini. So yeah, just it looks like the vignette is working. It's just weird it doesn't show up in my render view or whatever. Yeah, they added like the post effects. I forget what they called them. Is that what you're talking about? Like are you just talking about overall the GPU? You can render using GPU. But I saw they did add in like 1 month ago or something, they added the camera. I forget what they called it, but it's image effects or something like that. But it's basically like the Redshift post effects looks or something. It's super nice to have that in your renderer where you can, yeah, for exposure, just for, you can just skip the step of like comping, or if you're working to do like style frames and stuff, you don't have to mess around with like Nuke or Photoshop or whatever. The lentil lens. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in the just really cool stuff you can do with Arnold. You can't do as much with other renders. But yeah, the reason, like, if you really wanted to bake high resolution geometry to V-Ray, you can do it. Like, to do these kind of displacements at render time, you have to know a bit more about the specific render engine, like to write the shader, to set up the noise and the displacement. It usually doesn't translate one-to-one, because unless you're using Mantra, because then like VOPs are VOPs and you can use the same nodes. But if you're using V-Ray or Arnold or Redshift or whatever, you'll need to port over like your noise functions or do a little bit more work to get the attributes in the shader and stuff like that. But it definitely will pay off if you're trying to do really detailed work. Like if you're just doing a broad gradient of color, you could apply the colors on the geometry. But if you really want to get like, kind of like using a UV map or stuff like that, like really, really nice detail or whatever. I don't know, I'm kind of worried I moved the display flag to the wrong node. I think I did. Should have set the render flag. So yeah, I was doing displacements and stuff with these ones that it wasn't getting the right coordinates, the right textures and stuff. It's like this shifting the normal to the UV coordinates. Made a mistake. And then I think I might have also not, I did turn on displacements. Yeah, there was also like the geo clip and tune shading stuff with Arnold that seems like it'd be really cool to play around with. Get like really technical, like illustrative a blueprint. Yeah, I think I left the bounce card a little too close. You can kind of see it there, but it's okay. We're doing like 4-second frames. 5 seconds. It takes some time to just to extract the do the scene setup or whatever, but it's pretty fast. Maybe like 15 frames a minute. Yeah, I don't know, maybe my maybe I made my specular too rough. I kind of liked it more when it was like a little bit slimier feeling. A little bit more greasy. Yeah, we'll let this render out, maybe give it another few minutes. I'm gonna get some more water. I'll be right back. Yeah, I don't know. I think I made it worse. The stuff I did to this displacement noise isn't looking as nice as it was before. Some of this stuff is working better though, like this texture stretching stuff. It's not. It's never really possible to get a perfect rest. You'll always get like some streaking or stretching or stuff like that. You could do the rest advection, What I'm doing here is more of like a triplanar type of projection. So there's a bit of like warping and stuff like that, but you will always have to pick a little bit of one or the other, kind of. Yeah, it depends. There's like 20 different ways you could go about texturing fluids or trying to do it. The Pyro nodes have it built in now where you can do the rest. If you just add the rest field and advect it, then those are coordinates that you could use to generate noises to try to stick it more to things. The triplanar projection is, you'll see some like artifacts on the corners and stuff, but you'll get a little bit closer to like things looking like they're stuck to the fluid. There's sometimes people will do some things with like particles and project textures from the particles like that advect with the fluid, but that kind of stuff will get pretty technical pretty quickly. But yeah, some of this warping is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know if my just feels like the gnarly noise that I have here isn't it doesn't, the two noises I'm working with don't feel like they're sitting together very well. All right, I'm just gonna mess around with it a little bit more. Let's go full resolution. I'm just gonna turn off the displacement for a second. So I'm just visualizing the actual noise output here. This kind of stuff could be more interesting. I've used this wavy turbulence before. It's pretty nice. You can get like, I feel like it's more of like clay. The other one I was using was a bit too much, maybe like tree roots or something. Let's give this one a try. I think I'm gonna want to do some remapping. The change range. So the typical displacement, like the white value is fully displaced. I think with this one I kind of want to go the other direction. You can do some is a contrast. I'll also do the power function as well. This one you can like flatten. I don't know. I might just see what it looks like before doing too much of this stuff. Let's just turn on the stuff. So yeah, it looks like maybe too much of it was white, because it all kind of expanded out a little bit. I forgot to plug that thing in as well. The Mandelbrot noise, I don't know if they have it built into Redshift. With the alpha image, is that cheating? All right, let me get another render going. And then we can check out a Mandelbrot. All right, I think this is going to work a little bit better. We'll turn our displacements back on. Yeah, I think this might work a little bit better with everything. All right, so try it like this. Just fix these issues I was having with the bounce light, the bounce card. Get it out of the frame. And Let's take another look at the light over here. They were doing some Mandelbrot's. This could be nice. All right. We'll try another one like this. September. Thank you. Yeah, it was a kind of a continuation of some of the volume retiming stuff we were doing on Wednesday. I close my windows. All right. Ah, yeah. I think this one is using the full proper noise function, right? So I opened up another scene file here, and they do have a real classic one. The OG. Mandelbrot is kind of the OG. So I think it's just was it in here? We have to do it inside of a generator. This is like the historic one. None of that 3D business. Hidden. It is pretty hidden in Houdini, at least. Let's see if it works. This thing. Let's get our. I think we should be working maybe with a square. All right. I guess we should go up if we want the full glory of the maximum detail. So yeah, I think these ones are pretty cool. Maybe not cheating if you do it in cops and then put it in the shader. Yeah, unfortunately with Redshift it won't, you still would need to do some baking and stuff. Like, I wouldn't be able to use this node directly in the Redshift network. I think we can just do something fun in our 2D area. So we could zoom in, pan around a little bit. I went too far. Let me zoom out a little bit. The ninth inning is just it's like an Easter egg. All right. I don't know if my iterations are like slowing it. Maybe doing too many, it will slow it down too much. This is the idea. You guys ever watch the YouTube video where it's like 9-hour Mandelbrot zoom? It's just a slow pan or zoom in or whatever like that. Didn't see the end. All right. Let's try do not reveal what is inside of the Mandelbrot. Can do some of the standard warping. I'm a fan of doing it. Oof. I don't know if it will be that good. Wow, 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 wow. Never start when you're high. All right. I don't know about this. Or maybe just a little bit of it. This is for disp. Yeah, this is displacing the UVs before generating the fractal. It's like distorting the domain kind of that you're working in. Like it's, I don't know, another way to think about it is like if you had like a lattice deformer in 3D space that was just like a bit wonky, a bit wobbly, like this this noise is just deforming your entire like 3D space, or in this sense like a 2D space. Let's check in with the render. I think yeah, I don't know about the new noise pattern. It's a little bit disappointing. Just give it some more time to render. Yeah, I was trying to get this stuff here to like expand some of that area, like zoom it in, but it doesn't look like I'm getting it that much success. It's just like too much noise or whatever. Let's try taking our frequency and adding ooh no, Ooh, no. Yeah, I don't know about that. Just go back. I think that my pivot, like the center, is a bit off. I don't know why I can't see inside of the black areas. Like, shouldn't those be above or below 0 or something? We can go to the full. Oof. These VOPs, the outputs here are pretty outdated. You have to keep doing like these operations. All right, here it comes. Ooh, the rainbow Mandelbro. We're in the Mandel zone. Yeah, I don't know if it's just my sine function that. Let's try eliminating it. The sponge zone. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I think this is kind of like the slice, and then for 3D, this is offset, or it's like you're like stepping through it over time, if that makes sense. This is, the 2D VOP right here is kind of like taking a cross section of the Big Daddy, the bulb. All right. So we're 37 frames in. Yeah, the stuff is looking pretty good in stills. I think it's just going to take some time to get it looking better in animation. I still don't know about the noise frequency. It's like just a little too crunchy and stuff. Some of this might be from the time blend node, the classic animation. Some of it might be the time blend node introducing some of the pulsing. I don't know. I need to inspect the strobing from that maybe. Happy accident. It might be. It's always good to know how to clean that stuff up, though. Just see if it was something stupid I did. Maybe just doing it after the smoothing isn't the best idea. I think you want to do it in that step right there. But yeah, I'm probably going to leave it here for today. It's getting too long. Gonna fall asleep. But yeah, it's definitely promising. I don't know, maybe even just doing some macro, super slow motion shots is like a little bit better to show off some of the detail that way. But yeah, it's a pretty fun, I still have my history. It won't let me go to it. No. All right. Yeah. Thanks everyone for hopping in, chilling. Yeah, the depth of field, doing a macro, I think that might be a better way to shoot it and stuff, is like panning the camera across very slow motion and then just seeing the really showing off like the stretching and the ripping of the noise patterns. But yeah, thanks all the OGs for dropping in your half a year anniversary, sticking around here for forever. Happy birthday to the OG Mandelbro himself, and we'll be back Sunday. Yeah, so we do Vex on Sunday. Bit more technical. Been doing some workshops and stuff like that, but if you're interested in deep diving into programming, coding inside of Houdini, those are really useful. So I think we'll leave it here, and I hope everyone has a good start to the weekend.